here talking about good debt, bad debt,
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
But I'm thinking, what does that actually mean?
It's a good question. I think there's a lot of talk about it, and there's a lot of people think different things when it comes to good debt, bad debt. For me, I guess the typical answer is that good debt is a debt that has an asset to it. Mm-hmm. So that asset is creating a value. Mm-hmm. So good debt would be a mortgage.
Of course, yeah.
Good debt would be a business loan.
Or if you can't afford a mortgage?
If you can't afford a mortgage.
What other forms of good debt are there?
Like a business loan.
Yeah, okay.
And a business loan could be your credit card. You can start your business with your credit card.
Yeah.
So it's just what you're using that debt for. So I'd say bad debt would be when you're using it on things that can't create you a value.
Okay.
So, clothes and so those type of things, racking up debt on that.
I think for me personally, when I'm thinking about good debt, bad debt, I'm really thinking about the habits of that individual. So it's only good debt, bad debt if you get people using it for the right stuff. So let's say, for example, that business loan. Yeah. If someone's like, I want to start a business X, Y, and Z, if they don't have a clear understanding of what they're using that money for, then it's almost like that's bad debt straight away. Yeah. I only say that because I know from experience. Do you know what I mean? So, but I think it comes down to knowing what you want to use that money for. Yeah. Because even let's say, for example, I think it's always good to think about getting a mortgage or whatever it is, because if you have the right mindset, then you can use that money for what you said yourself, for generational wealth, so to speak.
Definitely. I agree. But I think sometimes, even with bad debt, like you said, with a business loan, even though you might not have the right idea, you might fail, but the lessons you learn
I hear that.
Can help you when you go back again. So we look at people like, Alan Sugar and, you know what I mean, Richard Branson. These people are multimillionaires now, but they've had businesses that have failed in the past. And so sometimes, even though you might not have a great plan, you might not have really thought out what you're doing, your idea that you want to create a business or create wealth for yourself is the right idea. Now the execution might be wrong, but you might need to go through that wrong execution to be better now.
So going on those points here, is there sort of like a sequence? Let's say for a business, obviously, because that's what we talk about. Yeah. Is there sort of like a sequence of what you need to aim for first when it comes to good debt?
Yes. You know what it is with business is that we want to go hard.
Yeah, we want to go, especially black people.
Come on, we want to, you know what I mean? You're starting off your business. You want a big overdraft. You want a big office. You want, staff. Like, you're not ready for staff. Like, you're not ready to hire someone else yet. You can't even afford to pay yourself. So we need to scale back, and we need to use the technologies that are around us. Like social media, like online platforms, online shops, and start our business small and then scale up. The problem is we want to start at 10.
Of course.
And we need to really start at 1, like the very basics.
So what's 1 in this instance? Because for me, the way I see it is, if you want to start something, I think the best thing you can start is a service.
Obviously.
It's inexpensive.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, you have to think to yourself, how are you going to get your clients? Is it going to be cold calling? Is it going to be emailing? Is it going to be networking? All that kind of stuff. But you can start. Yeah, definitely. Because if you're trying to go into something like a franchise or something else, something big, you may not be ready for it because, again, quoting, Noah Axel and everything else, knowledge equals change, innit?
Yeah, definitely.
At the end of the day. And if you don't have that right basis of knowledge from the beginning, then it's always going to be bad debt. Even if it, do you know what I mean? Because you might not even learn those lessons.
I hear you. And what's so deep from what you're saying is that even debt, when we're talking bad debt might not even be the borrowing of money.
It's true. Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The debt might be the mental debt that you then put on yourself because now you feel like a failure. Yeah. But you wasn't a failure. You just didn't put the right things in place. So sometimes we have to get to a point where we see failure and say, okay, yes, I failed, but what did I learn from this? And what I've learned from this actually means that I'm not a failure.
Do you know what? Starting talking about failure and all this kind of stuff, it makes me think, like, what is failure to you? I know we're talking about debt, but what is failure? Because do you fail when you completely stop something, or do you fail when you don't make a realization? Like, what is it?
No, I don't think failure is stopping. I think that's the number one misconception. Failure is not stopping. sometimes actually the smartest thing to do is to stop and start again.
But that's different. That's starting again afterwards.
Yeah.
I mean, completely stopping.
But sometimes you've tried. You were not built for a business. You were built to be an employee.
Interesting. But how do you know you're not built for business if you've just tried that business?
Good question.
If that makes sense.
No, definitely. I think also is that because you know your mentality. You know that you're supposed to be calling people. You know that you're supposed to be, but yet you're sitting there watching daytime television and Netflix.
Yeah, Jeremy Kyle.
So there's certain characteristics that you need, and you're going to know no matter what business you start, your mentality and your mindset and your drive is not enough to make that business succeed.
I hear that.
And so you can tell that from the first. Now, if you failed because maybe it was the wrong product, or maybe because you couldn't supply the product enough to the consumers, that the consumers got upset and then left, that's different.
Yeah.
Of course, you can start again because you got their buy-in to begin with. But if you never even got to that stage, and that's why I say start at one. One for me is I can buy a product and I can sell it.
I see.
So see, when I started, like I always tell people, I started selling when I was like 14. Me and my boy.
Were you that guy selling the cartoon juices on the playground?
We were selling Avisu jeans.
Oh wow!
Me and my boy.
Player.
Trust me, back in the day,
yeah.
Me and my boy were selling Avisu jeans. He had the money, and I had the connection because I had the church connection. So I used to put the jeans in my dad's boot, get my dad to put the car at the front of church. After service, and I'll just be selling from the boot. And there was one of them things where, to me, that's stage one.
I see.
I need to be able to know that I can sell to an individual, that people actually want my product.
So it comes down to developing a skill, I guess.
Yes.
And I think it comes back to what we were saying before about making sure you get that knowledge at the beginning, because if you don't have that basis, and if you haven't trained that muscle, so to speak, or that habit, it's not going to be possible, because you haven't even proved to yourself, or you haven't believed in yourself to know that you can actually do that thing.
Exactly.
Because, you hear all these people talk and they say, I learned how to sell from young, or whatever it is, or I made sure I did a sales job, or whatever it is. Okay. So going back to the question of the sequence, like what is the right sequence?
For me, the first point is the idea.
Yeah.
Have the idea. Then once you have the idea, then people always cut out business plan. They always cut out business plan because it's long.
Yeah.
But you see what business, if it can't work on paper, how is it going to work in reality?
Of course.
So business plan is so important, and it doesn't have to be pages and pages. It can be a couple of pages, but write down how, number one, you're going to get the consumer, how much products you're going to get, what you're going to charge for that product, how many people you need to buy that product, how you're going to market to those people, and what the profits will be from there. And when you get those profits in, how much you're going to pay yourself a salary, and how much you're going to reinvest in your business.
But I think I'm playing devil's advocate here, obviously a little bit, but I think the problem that a lot of people have is that they don't have the right guidance from the beginning.
Come on.
That's the issue. Do you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, we all hear it. We have our sort of, I want to say, middle class white counterparts who've been taught by, mother, father, X, Y, and Z. Like, this is how you do it. And even if they're not saying it, they're showing it, so they adopt those skills. But, let's say for the black counterpart who's had to run against the wind rather than go with the wind, it's a bit different. And they learn these things late, getting themselves into debt when they feel like it's hard to overcome it. So what about those situations?
Good question.
Because I guess as I'm saying this, the more I think about it, people make the difference.
Come on.
They really do.
Definitely.
People make the difference. You can call it a mentor, you can call it, whatever you want to call it, but there needs to be some sort of people or person that gives you some sort of idea of the structure of how you need to attain your goal. Yeah. Or there needs to be somebody or a group of people who you can sort of work off, model, as I call it. Other people say they just copy them, but whatever it is. Yeah. But the point being made is, if you have those people in place, then you can avoid things like sort of bad debt and utilize it, or basically create good debt, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. But I also feel that, number one, we're living in a digital age.
Yeah, of course.
The information is at your fingertips. You can get out there, you can find it. You can find role models and mentors that you don't even need to speak to, because they're putting what they're doing, how they did it, online all the time. There's so much information out there, number one. Number two, go get a job in the industry that you want to be in. So then you can learn, and that's why I always tell people are in jobs and they're just going to work they hate their job. They're not looking around. They're not looking at the infrastructure that's around them. You go into your job, you see that the first day you had an induction pack. Okay, what did they put in there? How did that make me feel? What was that process like? Oh, you got a telephone number. Oh, you got your desk. You got your email address. All these things are things that now you can learn and take away, and it brings structure for when you now get to start your business.
But I agree with everything you just said. But before that point, you need to be inspired to do that. And if you're a dummy dum dum, then you're a dummy dum dum until something changes, you know. And you know, obviously they say it's very difficult to change the mind of a 25-year-old and over, because it requires some sort of extreme experience in order for them to make that real change. So unless that change has happened, or unless it's induced at the beginning, how you start is so important, like we were saying before. Do you know what I mean? But once that's happened, then all of that stuff you're saying is an excuse.
No, definitely. I agree. But I think at the same time, we live in a culture where we're looking for influencers. We don't want to think for ourselves anymore.
It's true.
We're looking for, and so how do you get out of that mindset of looking at 1 + 1 = 2 to start thinking, but what if I added 3 to 1 and then multiplied 4 by 2? All of a sudden, like 8.
Because nobody wants to go deep.
Exactly. Nobody wants to.
People are scared to go deep.
We are being brainwashed in a society now where we say, listen, whatever's good for you is good for me. So I don't want to think.
That's mad, you know. That sheep mentality is crazy. Because I say this all the time. It comes down to being honest with yourself. People are scared of being honest themselves. Because if they sat down and looked themselves in the mirror and said, am I truly doing the things or the habits or the activities that will get me to my goal? Like, let me start that again, because I think I was trying to go deep and it didn't work. Let me start that again. Am I doing the things that will allow me to get to my goal? And most people will say no. But they don't want to say no. You know? Rather they'll hide behind an Instagram picture and say that's success, or get people to like them and say that's success. Do you know what I mean?
I agree. And I think also, you know, I always talk to people when I do consultations. I tell them, listen, what's your why? What is the why? What wakes you up? And people will tell me this big why. We'll set up a plan, and within a few weeks, they're falling off. Why? Because they lied. The why they gave me is the why that they think I want to hear. And it's not their real why.
Too much lying.
And sometimes we can't be honest and open and say, actually, I don't have a why. I just don't want to do it.
Which is okay.
It's okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
You understand?
But part of the propaganda of the media and stuff makes you feel like you need to have a why.
You need to have a why.
Sometimes I say you need to know the what before the why.
Come on.
You know, what is it that you want to do and why is it that you want to do it?
Come on.
You know, at the end of the day. But coming back to the debt thing, I guess this explains why people, you know, actually get into bad debt. Because they're not being honest with themselves.
Exactly.
They think they can sort of rig the system or play the game. You know? Because really and truly, people know deep down it's not right for them, because, look, let's be real. Like you said, information out there basically states that you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z with a credit card or a loan or whatever it is. But they think they're different. They think they're special. They think they have some sort of protective cloak that will stop them from, you know, getting into debt.
I hear you, but I also think it's the now culture, it's the impress culture,
instant rise culture.
It's the instant. I can't let you know, and this is why people always tell me, Manda, why do you think people don't talk about money? And I always tell them, because once we start having a conversation about money,
honest one,
you can gauge how much I earn.
Exactly.
I don't need to tell you my salary, but you can gauge how much I earn.
Of course.
But once we start to have that conversation about money, because my answers will be limited to my, do you understand?
Your lifestyle.
To my lifestyle. And so what then happens is that to make us appear more, we find things that people assume or people equate with wealth. So we drive a nice car. So we go on holidays, trips to Dubai and Miami. And so we make it, and we make these things look like we now have wealth and we now have money. And that's how we end up in debt. But we know when we come back after showing, like you said, I've been in Miami. People are going to like that. Yeah, Miami's nice. I'm in Dubai. It's amazing. I love your lifestyle. But when you close that door and you go on online banking,
it's peak. It's mad.
It's mad. You know that. A lot of people, like I worked in a bank, like I worked as a cashier.
Of course.
Like I saw people in the nicest suits and we swiped their card and they're in overdraft. And I'm talking on payday.
Oh,
so
okay.
You get paid and you're still in overdraft. You haven't even come out on payday.
Wow.
So you're living in your overdraft.
Which is fine. Okay. Which is fine. But I guess what we're saying is, don't go on like you live this lifestyle.
This is the thing.
And there's a grey area, because sometimes people are like, well, that's your assumption. But, but if you're taking a picture or sort of acting a certain way, you want us to believe that because you've been told like attracts like.
Yes.
And I will get respect or a certain air of regality because I look, dress and think this way.
Exactly.
It comes down to honesty. That's what I think of when it comes down to debt. And it comes down to planning as well.
But the problem is when you're honest, because so many people are living a lie, when you're honest, you're shunned. When you're honest, you're laughed at.
But you see, this is the thing though. You need to be able to develop the right mental fortitude to overcome that. Because this is why I bang on about mindset, personal development, all of that stuff. Because if you have a true belief in yourself as an individual and understand your worth here on earth, then you don't care what anyone else does. Not. Then you run to your own rhythm. You run to your own beat. You'll make your own plans because this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And nobody can tell me that I'm not going to be doing anything else.
I hear
you. At the end of the day. Interesting.
So this is it. And this is why when we say good debt, bad debt, I don't think it's the result that turns it into good or bad debt. To me, it's the intention.
I hear that.
It's your intention of what you're planning to do. You're borrowing money. Both is borrowing money. Mm-hmm. It's your intention of what you're going to do with that money. Mm-hmm. To me, that makes it good or bad, not the result of how it turned out.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say are some good sort of like good debt habits?
I think some good debt habits is having a plan. You have to have a plan on how you're spending your money. I think a good debt habit also is repayment. Yeah. I think too many times we have a plan of how we're going to spend, but not how we're going to repay.
Of course.
And so for
I'm guilty of doing that myself. Do you know what I mean?
We've been there. Yeah. We've all been there. So it's one of those things where not only have a plan of how you're going to take this money and how you're going to spend this money, but also make sure that you've got a plan on how you're going to repay this money. Of course. So that plan comes before you take it. Not whilst you're in the madness. Now you're juggling and all of a sudden that plan needs to be in place before you take that money. And then I think finally, for me, it's about reinvestment. Mm-hmm. I think too many times, especially in business, your reinvestment is always in your business. Yes. And that's what we call putting all your eggs in one basket. Yeah. Your reinvestment should be sometimes your reinvestment is in another business. Of course. You might see someone else and I like your business. Mm-hmm. Here's £1,000. I want you to pay me, I don't know, X amount for the next 2 years on top. So this is how I see it. So there are a lot of people out there that have bad debt. Yeah. They've started a business or I don't even want to say they've started a business. They started a passion project that they want to sort of monetize. Yeah. Okay. Because there's a difference. Yeah, definitely. But then they're told that they need to invest their money into other stuff. What about those people? Because for me, I think it's sensible to clear up that bad debt first before you even think about doing anything else. Definitely. I'm not saying you shouldn't start up a business. I'm not saying that at all because like I said before, services require very low investment, to be fair. Yes. But what about those types of people? Should they still invest in other stuff knowing they're making payments to their business and to other stuff? I think it's all down to the human mind and how everyone's an individual. Some people, they're not going to be happy just paying all that debt off. Of course. They need to feel like they're doing more. So for me, it's about balancing. But it's about feeling. It's about intention, isn't it? But people work on feeling. I know that's the problem. I say feeling's good. Don't get me wrong. I think human emotion is important. Because scientists have shown that it's important for us to have emotions so we can make decisions. Yeah. Okay. However, if you know the intention and plan, isn't it almost like fuck your feelings sort of thing? I hear what you're saying, but let's flip it the other way. Okay. Because go on. I do it with investments, for example. Yeah. So let's say you want to save to buy a house. I know that obviously if we put this £1,000 away each month, we'll get to the goal quicker. Of course. But I know you putting all your money in that and not having money for little luxuries or whatever. It's going to make you go crazy. Exactly. Yeah. And so that's the same attitude you're going to have when it comes to paying back debt. You don't want to put all your money into paying debt. You want to put most of it in there. Yeah. But you want to have a little bit to do what you feel is beneficial. Okay, you said beneficial, which was the key word I was going to say. Because if you didn't say that, I was going to start, Because obviously that's different. Yeah. Because obviously I understand the whole social thing. We need to live as human beings. We're social creatures. We're not robots. Exactly. At the same token, I guess the stance I'm coming from is how do you prioritize those efforts? I think for me, this is why it's
long-term thinking.
And this is why my clients pay me. And this is...
I love that. Little plug there.
this is why they pay me. Do you know what I mean? As a financial advisor.
Yeah.
It's to have this conversation.
Of course.
Because I'm telling you, Mike, when you have the conversation with yourself, you're always going to favour yourself.
You're going to convince yourself you're biased.
You're biased.
Yeah.
This is why you pay to have an expert, so that someone who's neutral to your situation can come and tell you. So you know that they have no gain in what they're telling you other than what they feel is best for you.
Yeah.
Do you
what they feel is
best for you.
Yeah.
And so when clients come to me, it's like, yes, I know you want to do this, but look, this is black and white. Mm-hmm. And so once we can see it's black and white, I mean, again, we take the emotion out. Because it's that emotion. We take that emotion out. Then we can start really planning. And that, for me, my job is about accountability.
So there are two things there, because there's parallels I can have as a business coach. But the first thing is, number one, I guess you can take that emotion out of them by looking at the intention, as you said, and the plan. But two, that comes back down to the good debt, bad debt thing, because in essence, you are good debt for them.
Exactly.
Because you're helping them make those good decisions. You know what I mean? You're their extra brain saying, well, based on experience and based on my qualifications as a certified financial advisor, you know, this is probably best for you. I can't tell you what to do, but based on what I know, this would be best for you.
Exactly. And my thing is if it costs you £1,000 to make £10,000, then that's a good investment.
Yeah, it is a good investment.
And so this is what we want to try and do. And so what other people do is say, I don't want to pay the £1,000, I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
You save £1,000, but you end up losing the 10.
I hear that.
Because you make bad decisions.
Yeah.
And you make emotional decisions. And so that's why you pay for advice.
I guess the main last thing that I want to really talk about is the fact that I think the statistic has changed, but this was probably about 5 years ago. There, some sort of statistical warehouse calculated that people in Europe could only survive 18 days if they never had a job.
Yeah. That's even... Yeah.
That's mad, you know. 18 days. Yeah. But I'm not surprised at the same time. Based on everything you're saying in terms of what you experienced as a cashier, you know. What's your thoughts, man?
I think for me, it's that you want to save for an emergency fund, but there's so much temptation. Every time you go into a shop, every time you go around, I tell people, listen, the first thing I tell you to do when we start budgeting with me, if you're serious, is you see all those emails you get about sell.
Yeah.
You unsubscribe to all of those. Because I always tell people, even if it's 50% off, if we haven't budgeted for it, it's still 50% too much.
It's interesting. And another stance on that, though, if you have a strong mind.
Yeah.
If you are starting a business similar to that person, I would stack up all of those emails and model them. Something's working. If it's making you feel like you want to spend, but that's a different conversation, obviously.
Definitely.
I hear that.
So I feel like it's one of those things where we have to look at ourselves and say, look, this is why I always get people to tell me your why.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to use your words. To
accountability.
So you've told me this is what you want. You've told me this is what you want to do. And I'm telling you, this is how we're going to do it. Why are you not going to do it?
So I think the conclusions we're coming to is really, one, there needs to be a level of honesty of that person and that individual so they can overcome. Two, there needs to be some sort of intention. That is backed by a plan or strategy. But three, there needs to be some sort of right guidance so you can make the right sort of decisions. So you can focus more on good debt and avoid bad debt. A little bit of bad debt's not too bad because, like you said, we're human. Do you know what I mean? But there are limits, I guess.
Exactly.